Well, hello, everyone. My name is Claudia. I am a pet health advocate, and I'm also a pet retailer here in Northern Virginia. We have two locations, one in Gainesville and Bristol. And we are delighted to have today Johnny Camlet from Real Mushrooms. Johnny, how are you today?
I'm I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on. Y'all
No,
have a lot going on in Virginia coming up.
I know, right? We have Amanda's event in a few more days and then countdown for my event. So
Yes,
it's very, very
exactly. Yeah.
exciting. So, to our Miss Kibbles patrons, let me do a brief introduction. Johnny Camlet is a registered veterinary technician and a certified canine rehabilitation assistant. She also has her certification in applied clinical nutrition for humans. Johnny witnessed the benefits of raw feeding, homeopathy, and herbs back in 1996 when Scruffy, her dog, was diagnosed with mammary cancer. At the same time, Joni was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Both of their positive responses to natural therapies started when Joni on her holistic path, and she has been working in the field of integrative veterinary medicine ever since. Joni is passionate about holistic options for both animals and humans. She spent a decade working in the supplement industry for Standard Process, teaching veterinarians and pet parents about holistic options. She is now embracing her mushroom passion in her position as Director of Veterinary Education and Outreach for Real Mushrooms. Johnny's experience encompasses nutrition, canine rehabilitation, Western herbal medicine, functional medicine, laser therapy, hospice, energy medicine, glandular therapy, and her favorite modality, therapeutic mushrooms. So Joni, thank you so much for making time to meet us today on a Friday on a long weekend after the 4th of
Yeah,
July. Hopefully you had
absolutely.
a nice day off unpacking.
Yeah, well, and I hope everybody's pets managed through the 4th of July okay. What a what a wonderful and wonderful holiday for us, horrible holiday for our animals, that's for sure. And I'm sure you have a lot of stuff in your store that was able to help them.
Yes, between non-CBD,
Yep.
CBD options, we definitely were busy this week.
Yeah, I bet.
Also because we were closed yesterday to allow our staff to take the
Good.
day off. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wonderful. Well, first of all, I just wanted to do a quick overview of what our life is about. I know people think mushrooms, and the first thing that comes to mind is mushrooms. They're toxic. Pet
Right.
dogs cannot eat. Just period. They're toxic. Your dog cannot have any mushrooms. But as we know, in the last couple of years, especially on the human side, right now we're hearing more about mushrooms and research coming up that mushrooms are actually beneficial for pets. Um, so I was actually reading one of your papers, right? So there's different types of mushrooms. We have edible, we have medicinal, we have the psychoactive and poisonous. So
Yep.
today, tell us which kind of mushrooms, which category will we be talking about?
Yeah. And yeah, thank you for sharing that information because there's we call it mycophobia. There's a particularly on the veterinary side of things. There's a certain degree of fear of mushrooms, and it's with good reason, because there are mushrooms that are out there in the world. I mean, there are between 2 and 6 million varieties of mushrooms. I mean, that's the mushrooms have their own kingdom fungi. There's the plant kingdom, there's the animal kingdom, and then there's the fungal kingdom, which has so many different varieties of mushrooms. And of that, there's only a very few that we're aware of or using medicinally, and that well, quite a lot of them are edible, but there's also mushrooms that are poisonous. And unfortunately, in the veterinary world, often a veterinarian's first introduction to mushrooms is when a dog eats a toxic mushroom, in the backyard. They're death cap mushrooms. They're Amanita phalloides is their Latin name, and they're everywhere. They're on the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast. After it rains, they pop up, and they're very tasty to animals. And so if a dog eats a mushroom, one of these death cap mushrooms, it's almost always fatal. Interestingly, deer and rabbits can eat these mushrooms and they're not toxic to them. So it makes sense that veterinarians, when they hear mushrooms, they're like, oh no, I lost a patient to mushrooms. You need to avoid it. But the reality is that we're not talking about those kind of mushrooms. We're talking about edible mushrooms. And basically the rule of thumb is if a mushroom is safe for a human, it's safe for an animal. Meaning, so if you go to the grocery store and you're in the produce section and you see the mushrooms, all of those mushrooms are going to be safe for your dog or cat. When you mentioned the 4 different varieties of mushrooms, an interesting thing about them is that, so we're talking about, with most of our mushrooms, like in our line, they're both edible and medicinal. So you can, lion's mane, for instance, we have a lion's mane mushroom product. You can go to the grocery store and buy mushroom, lion's mane mushroom and cook it up, or you can get it in a supplement form, and it's very tasty, but it also has incredible medicinal value. Some mushrooms are edible, medicinal, poisonous, and they'll get you high. They're psychoactive too. So there are mushrooms out there that actually do all of those 4 things, where you can eat them and there's some good from them, but you have to cook them a very specific way or they can kill you. So that's a kind of a long answer to the wide range of different mushrooms that are out there. But in this live, and when we're talking about mushrooms for pets, we're talking about mushrooms that are both edible and medicinal and very, very safe. In fact, you can't even overdose on these mushrooms. You can cause diarrhea, if a dog or cat eats too much too soon, just like any other, product, you always want to start slow. There's no risk of overdose. So hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So thank you for clarifying. So certain mushrooms are safe for pets.
Yes.
So what would be your advice, as a pet parent that goes to their vet appointment and we want to have that mushroom discussion? What would be the best way to approach the subject to a, let's say, integrative, conventional vet?
Well, the good news is that many, more and more integrative veterinarians and even Western veterinarians are starting to catch on to the benefits of mushrooms. Real mushrooms, we have over 400 veterinary accounts. So, that's a tremendous amount of veterinarians that are already just using our products. But, I think it's always important when you go to a vet, you want to respect that. I mean, they're in the profession of being a veterinarian because they love animals and they want to do no harm. And, often they're not taught about this in school. And very often they have people coming into their practice that are asking about all kinds of different things that might not necessarily be good for the pets. When I was in vet practice, it was kind of shocking, some of the things that people would read about online or come in and say, hey, I want to give this to my dog. And it was definitely not the right thing to do. So, vets, understandably, if they don't know about it, might have a level of skepticism. So what can be very helpful is print out a clinical study. There's tons of clinical studies on mushrooms. If, look up turkey tail clinical studies or reishi clinical studies. You can go to PubMed or, not just an article, but a clinical study could really help. And, bring it in with you and just, have some data to back up this suggestion you're making that, that you want to put your dog on, on the product. And, very often vets will, they'll be open-minded to the idea, but I also think that often you'll be surprised that if you do bring up mushrooms, a lot of vets already know about it, especially the veterinary oncologists or veterinarians that deal with a lot of cancer, because that's how mushrooms became popular in veterinary medicine, was through that route.
Yes. And for me, the way how I see it is to challenge that thinking, right? Customers come to the store, what other options, and I always talk about being proactive. You don't have to wait for disease to manifest to start adding all these supplements,
Absolutely.
to your pet. They don't have to be 7. They don't have to be in their elderly years. We can start younger because, again, if they're feeding an ultra processed diet, there's a lot of deficiencies there.
Yes.
So that's when I let them know, hey, your next wellness, just explain to them, this is our resources. I share some on our website. Just try to educate a customer and to challenge that conventional thinking. There's more to it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's also, it's so great that there's so many uh, people are starting to question. They're questioning pet food. They're questioning just how we care for our animals, and I think that's great. And there's more and more pet health coaches, et cetera. People that are taking a deeper interest in pet health and nutrition. So, and the veterinarians are realizing that they're realizing that they have to be more open-minded. So, I think it's a lot has to do with the approach. Help approach your veterinarian in thinking about the best way to make it a win. Give them a reason to be more open-minded about it. Clinical studies, other vet, mention other vets that are using mushrooms, et cetera.
Yes, I have to say that in the last, we've been in business for 4 years. The last 2 years, that integrative approach in local practices here in Prince William, I'm blessed, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And I feel like somehow we're partnering, right? Just I work with some vets where they just don't have the time to talk about nutrition, right? So it's like, okay, go see Miss Kibbles, and I'm happy to have those conversations. That's my aisle, right? I get very passionate when it comes to, hey, how can I help you? How can I coach you? How can we do that transition? Slowly, so that way, as you can see the benefits. Yeah, it's interesting. The last 2 years have been great, in this 4 years being in business.
And how wonderful that veterinarians trust you, Claudia. That's the kind of, I so regret that I never was able to get up to your store. My work just kept me so busy. But what I've heard about your store, about both of your stores, and after meeting you, it's people like you that have these stores that offer wonderful products and have integrity and have respect for veterinarians. They feel more comfortable referring, their patients to you to get the kind of support that they just didn't learn in vet school. Veterinarians, unlike human doctors, when you go to if you need help with your foot, you go to a podiatrist. If you need, if you have like something going on internally, you might have a consult with a surgeon, or, if you have a problem with your tooth, you go to a dentist. Well, veterinarians are all of those things. Your veterinarian, your general practice veterinarian, is the surgeon, is the dentist, is the orthopedist. And they had to learn all of that in school. And nutrition, they didn't even, in most cases, they didn't even receive a semester of nutrition. And the nutrition consisted of a large prescription pet food company funding their training. When a vet enters veterinary school, I don't know if it's the same, but back, 20 years ago, when I was in hands-on practice working with the vets, when they started vet school, Hill's Nutrition would reach out to them and say, for the duration of your time as a veterinarian, we're going to give you free pet food. And of course, veterinarians always had 1 or 2 dogs. And so while they were students, they got all this free food, which built up loyalty. And then when they were in school, I'm talking about specifically about UC Davis, one of the biggest vet schools. And the veterinary, the teaching hospital, all of the dogs that go through surgery.
Joni, you froze. A little technical difficulty. 1 second. Um, um, just a moment. Let's see if we can fix this. Just a moment, folks. She's coming back. We see your picture and the microphone off, so I'm thinking it's reconnecting, Joni.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Sorry
Well,
about that.
I think we said the keywords and we got like
Yeah, that's right. It was
down.
Hills was listening. But yeah, kudos. I was saying kudos to the vets that like start applying common sense and recognize that, and Karen Becker said it best, the veterinary profession is the only profession that says to avoid fresh food and eat processed food. Like, what kind of sense does that make? Meanwhile, on the human side, you go to the doctor and they're telling you, don't eat all that ultra processed food. It causes all kinds of problems. When you go to the grocery store, you should stay on the outside. Like, don't walk down the aisles. The outside is where the produce is and the meat and the dairy and all the fresh foods are. Eat those foods. Meanwhile, we're, the general teachings for the past, for so many years on the veterinary side was that you have to feed this ultra processed kibble or this canned food that's been heated between 200 and 500 degrees, creating advanced glycation end products, which is carcinogenic, and it also accelerates aging. And so we're feeding inflammation to our pets. Meanwhile, we're giving them supplements or taking them to the vet to try to get drugs to lower whatever the inflammation is. Any kind of, disease is an inflammation of something. So anyway, that's my little soapbox there. And
No, I'm totally with you. So I'm originally from Peru. I lived there for 20 years and 11 months.
Yeah.
But growing up, when we raised our dog, Koki, for 17 years, and for 17 years, that dog ate leftovers. And,
Yep.
Eventually had to put him down because his back legs gave up on him. But even though there was ultra processed diet, pedigree is very common down there. We never fed those pebbles. I mean, it just didn't make any sense. And I'm sure we saved a lot of money too.
And you
But yeah,
probably helped. Yeah.
we would just open the door. He'll leave for the day, play with the dogs around the neighborhood, and around 6 o'clock, it's his curfew, came back home, and healthy dog.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever got sick whatsoever. Just being out there in the dirt and just
Yeah.
just just living the life. I didn't hear as much ultra processed diet or kibble until I came to this country, and then I decided to expand my family and get a Chica, my German Shepherd, and my breeder was the one that told me, hey, you need to look into fresh food diets. You need to do your research before you actually get the puppy. And I'm going to tell you, about grain-free diets. And, she gave me all this printout, and I'm thinking, man, this is a lot for let's say, as an adult, first-time dog.
Sure.
But I'm so grateful because if it wasn't for her, probably she would be on tick and flea preventative. She'd probably be on kibble. She'll probably be on, I don't know, antibiotic when she got this Lyme positive test, asymptomatic. And anyway, so long story short is I completely agree with you. That's how I was raised. If we get sick, you have a tummy ache, you don't put medicine the option was there, but my mom was like, hey, chamomile will just do it. If you have cramps, you do this, and if you have a headache, then go lay down, put potatoes in your forehead. I was just
Love
raised
it.
that. Yeah,
That
I was
that
raised
is so
that way.
great.
And I
And
continue, yeah, my son, he's a teenager. He sometimes makes laugh and he's like, Mom, you can just like, why can't I just take this or take that? And I'm like, no, because I just don't believe you're young. You have to shake it off. Um,
I,
so
I love it. And, I'm listening to your story about, I didn't realize that this is your first dog. And look at how it's changed your life, because now here you are, Miss Kibbles, with the pet. I mean, this really, like, it sounds like getting your first dog and having this experience with this veterinarian um, kind of changed the trajectory of your life. And of course, your experience in Peru with, you know, a more natural way of feeding also resonated with you. So I love that. I love hearing how people got to doing what they're doing, because it's clearly a passion for you. And
yes, it is. And I was reading the Forever Dog Book, and it said like the mushrooms also come back from the Andes, from the Incas. And I'm thinking probably actually that kind of makes sense down in Peru. And
yep,
we talk about the chewing on leaves, to relieve altitude symptoms.
yep,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
totally
There's
applicable.
some Peruvian cave paintings, ancient cave paintings of these people, and their whole body is like covered. I'll have to send you the image with mushrooms popping out of them, like all around their head and their arms and stuff. And these are like, cave paintings. And of course, probably was related to like psilocybin, the magic mushrooms, and like, some sort of something, shamanism and, et cetera, which is a whole nother area of, using mushrooms, whether spiritually or medicinally. But
Spiritually, that's the
yeah,
word.
Peru, South America, Japan, Europe, China, of course, produces 85% of the world's mushrooms, and
Well,
have
Chinese medicine. I mean, to just
Chinese medicine and a tradition with mushrooms going back thousands and thousands of years. So yeah, it's interesting. It's actually North America. We're kind of behind the curve. Therapeutic mushrooms came to North America really kind of in the 70s and 80s. And our founder, the founder of our parent company, Namex, Jeff Chilton, was largely responsible for introducing therapeutic mushrooms in the US. So yeah, we're still kind of young here as far as our mushroom lineage and experience.
amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Well, bring it back to my
I know.
questions. I had a couple of sorry, I
Yeah,
get
I know. We could
sidetracked.
talk. We could gab all day about all kinds of stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and this question is kind of comparing it on the human side. Is there any contraindications from being on a mushroom for too long, or do you recommend taking breaks? Like I know with ashwagandha, they said you want to be on a month and then take some break. Is that applicable to
Yeah.
the pets?
No, not necessarily. Mushrooms are best, well, certain mushrooms are best when taken daily, long term. For instance, lion's mane. Lion's mane is a mushroom. It's the mushroom that got me interested in mushrooms. And lion's mane is great for supporting cognitive function in humans and also in animals. And there was a clinical study done with people where and it was a pretty small study, but I found it very interesting. Having had a mother, my mom had dementia and I took care of her for 15 years. So watching, my mom decline cognitively got me interested when I found out that there was something that could potentially help. Unfortunately, she'd already passed by the time I got interested in mushrooms, but the study caught my eye where they were giving actually lion's mane. They were cooking it in a soup. So this was culinary. It wasn't a supplement. They were cooking it in a soup, and it was in a senior living facility. And I think there were like with 12 residents. And for 6 weeks, every evening, they gave them this mushroom, lion's mane mushroom soup. And after the 6 week period, they recorded like the activities of daily living, the changes. And there were some really significant changes. Most importantly, 2 of the residents who hadn't been able to get out of bed by the end of the 6 weeks were joining the other residents for meals at dinner. Like that's huge. But going back to your question, what happened was when the study ended, 6 weeks after the study ended, they went back to where they were before they started on the lion's mane. So that's, in this case, like with lion's mane, that tells me like, okay, if let's say and I can talk about it with a dog now, because I've seen these changes with dogs too, and get tons of feedbacks. Dogs get dementia, canine cognitive dysfunction, just like humans do. And I've heard so much feedback from pet parents who use our lion's mane, who see significant improvement. And I always tell them, just keep it. If you see improvement, you want to do it for the life of your dog. Like, if you don't see anything, well, maybe it's not the right mushroom. But if you're seeing improvement by using this product, you probably want to plan on giving it, because based on the studies, they'll go back to where they were. Like it helps them while they're on it. And then once it's out of the system, they kind of go back to where they were before. I don't know if that's the case with all mushrooms. I know I like to mix them up. I just like to alternate everything in general. I often tell people like, well, for me, when I finish one, but I take a couple different mushrooms at a time. When I run out, I'll get something else, and just kind of cycle through. And if I have a dog that doesn't have any issues, often I do that. But there's no, it can't cause any harm to just continue to give it daily. I don't think the jury, I don't think other than the lion's mane, I don't think we have any specific data showing whether taking a break would be helpful or not. There is something I'll share though. I have had a few veterinarians tell me that when they're working with dogs that have cancer, and let's say they're using turkey tail is an excellent mushroom for when dealing with any type of aggressive issue like that. Also reishi, if the dog seems to be responding and the whatever the aggressive issue is, I'm not supposed to use that word online, but whatever that aggressive issue is, if they seem to be holding their own, maybe after a year or so, the vet might switch to a different mushroom. I've had a few vets tell me that it seems to like, they kind of peak after a certain amount of time. And I don't know if that's, again, this is just anecdotal. I don't know if it's just that there was a shift in the disease process and it became more aggressive, or whether it was related to the mushroom or not. But there are some vets that like to mix it up after like a year or two on a particular mushroom if they're treating the C word.
Got it.
Yeah.
And also that lion's mane is actually, I was watching one of Doctor's Rob Silver's podcast, which is, I'm a huge fan. I met him once at the,
if you ever, you'll see him he'll be at the Nautical Dog Expo.
Oh, he will be. Oh, that's amazing. And I'm looking forward to his book.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So he was saying that the mushroom, it heals like the mushroom shape, I guess. So like the lion's mane, because it looks like a brain.
Like a brain. Yes.
It actually supports the cognitive piece of it.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the law of similars. Yeah. It's interesting. It's an herbal medicine too, but often mushrooms look like, so lion's mane looks like a brain. And like chaga, for instance, which is often used for cancer, chaga looks like a tumor. It's just a big brown chunk. It's kind of fascinating that way.
And chaga is really not considered a mushroom, right?
It's actually a canker. Yeah. So chaga is it's actually a combination of the mycelium interacting with a birch tree and the wood. Yeah. So uh, it's in kind of a category of its own, but it is a canker, not a mushroom. But people, yeah, it's that you're correct there, Claudia.
I'm just going through my notes.
Good job.
Um, yes, and then lion's mane, is it accurate to say that it's among the mushrooms with the highest beta-glucan content?
Actually, turkey tail is probably the mushroom with the highest beta glucan content. I think our lion's mane beta glucan content is 20% or 25%, and our turkey tail is over 30%. So turkey tail is actually the highest beta glucan content mushroom.
And then jumping to turkey tail, I think where did I just read that it decreases 45% decreases the chance of developing cancer? Sounds about
Well,
right?
yeah. So an interesting thing about mushrooms is that they did a study, and I'll have to trying to remember how many people. It was a very, very large population study. I think in like the 10,000 or something. This was a human study. And what they discovered is that just eating mushrooms in general lowers what they call all-cause mortality and helps avoid premature death. So basically, any mushrooms you eat is going to lower your risk of dying from anything. And turkey tail is just a mushroom because of the high beta glucan content. Often people turn to it to address, kind of more aggressive issues. But the main reason I think that veterinarians and pet parents have been using turkey tail is because of a clinical study that came out in 2012 around turkey tail and hemangiosarcoma, which is a very aggressive cancer in dogs. It usually affects the spleen, but it can affect the heart and other organs. And it's pretty much always fatal. And it is a very rapidly progressing cancer. And what they found, they did a study at the University of Pennsylvania. And the study found that dogs that were fed high doses of lion's mane, their survival rate like tripled. It was a very impressive feedback that they got about it. And based on that, a lot of veterinary oncologists started using the turkey tail. I will say, unfortunately, it was a bit of a flawed study. It was a very small study. And they repeated the study in 2022. They did not get the same kind of results. They got some interesting data. Male dogs did better than female dogs. The hematocrit, which is a measurement of blood work, depending on the number of the hematocrit, dogs did better versus dogs that had a lower hematocrit. But the turkey tail didn't seem to make a whole lot of difference. I mean, I hate to say this is like one thing you're always going to get on it. Like, I'm not one of these people that comes on and say, just do it because, I'm saying you should do it. And, I'm going to share like the actual science behind this stuff. But both of these studies used an isolated extract from the mycelium of the turkey tail. They did not use the fruiting body. And so they used something called PSP, polysaccharopeptide. And it was extracted in a liquid broth and almost like a pharmaceutical. And so our belief is that if you're using turkey tail, it can be beneficial, but you want the whole compound. You don't want just like a tiny little isolated fraction of the what's not even the mushroom. It's the mycelium is it's a part of the fungus, but it's not an actual part of the mushroom. So anyway, that's kind of I hope that wasn't too complicated, but turkey tail, it's a great mushroom. I take it every morning. I actually mix the powder up in my coffee. It's antiviral, it's anti-inflammatory, it's anti-neoplastic, meaning it's anti-cancer. It's great for the digestion. I mean, there's all kinds of wonderful things that turkey tail can do. And it might
And it's a
protect
great source of fiber, right?
it. Well, all mushrooms are a great source of fiber, yes.
All mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep,
great.
yep.
Right. I also was reading, so mushrooms have a high content of glutathione.
Glutathione, yes, some mushrooms do. Yes, yeah, which people don't realize that mushrooms contain glutathione. They're also high in protein. I have my little list here. Um, they're high in protein, vitamin C, E, D, B1, B2, B12. They're low in calories. They're high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. They're high in selenium, uh, which is often very hard to get in the diet. And they're a great source of fiber. They're a great prebiotic. In addition to glutathione, they're also the highest source of a compound that you've probably never heard before, but you will, called ergothioneine. It's one of Rodney Habib's favorite things about mushrooms. And I'm sure he's going to be talking about it more as things go forward. But um, ergothioneine is an antioxidant that's found in mushrooms. It's found in other types of foods, but it's highest in mushrooms. And the interesting thing about ergothioneine is that our body has ergothioneine receptors, meaning there's areas in our body that are just kind of like waiting to receive ergothioneine, and the body can't produce it by itself, so it needs it from an outside source. And you only need 5 to 10 milligrams a day, which is a very, very small amount. And when the body gets it, it holds on to it. I mean, it's so important that the body holds on to it. And they're calling it the new longevity compound. It's great for anti-aging, it's anti-cancer, it's a lot of, like, I work with a lot of smart people. Dr. Silver, Rob Silver is smart. My colleague Lee Carroll, Dr. Mason Brissett. I mean, one thing about Real Mushrooms is that we're really committed to the science and quality, and we're always researching. We're really big on educating, and we're big on like finding like the truth underneath all the hype. And I will say that our science team is more excited about ergothioneine than I've ever seen them excited about anything before. And Lee Carroll thinks that the benefits of mushrooms could be coming mainly from this ergothioneine, which is found in all mushrooms. It's highest in oyster mushrooms.
Mhm.
It's pretty high in lion's mane as well. So is this effect that we're seeing in lion's mane, is it the beta glucans maybe, or is it the ergothioneine, or is it probably a combination of all of the, those are just two of so many different compounds that are in mushrooms. That's the amazing thing about mushrooms, is they're a polypharmacy. Like each mushroom is its own polypharmacy of terpenes and all kinds of different
Mm.
different healing aspects. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I'm excited about his upcoming book. There's a mushroom for that.
Yes. Yeah. So Dr. Rob Silver, he's been working on this for a long time. And yeah, he'd love to. I'm sure he's going to love meeting you at the Nautical Dog event. And
Actually, I'm not coming. I'm having surgery next week.
oh,
So I'll be on
goodness.
bed rest. Yeah.
Oh my, I'm so sorry. Well, we can commiserate with each other because I'm in California, and so I won't be there either. And now I hear that Rodney and Karen are doing an inside scoop from
So
Nautical
yes,
Dog.
I'll be live on my on bed rest. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have major FOMO for that event and for your event as well, which I know is going to be amazing.
I know. I'm actually super excited. We have quite a few veterinary technicians.
I love
The word
it.
is out. It's I'm super hyped and happy and excited and looking forward to it.
I'm so
Um,
excited for you. It's
yeah.
yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, that part of Virginia you're in has never seen this type of event. And it's so wonderful that, I mean, like Virginia is really representing between you and Amanda and Kim Davis at Natural Pet Essentials. Y'all have just really elevated Virginia as a hub for integrative options, you know, as far as like with your store carrying, you know, nutrition and supplements and um, better
And I
ways
also,
to your pets,
yeah,
all the different tools and toy, you know, I don't want to call them toys, but the different tools that you have to make to help pets become much better engaged, whether it's in how they're eating or their playtime or keeping their minds active. It's just wonderful what y'all do.
yeah. And I also have to do a shout out to my other independent retailers in the Northern Virginia area, in DC, in Leesburg, in Ashburn. We're in this together. We're all, trying to, raise awareness, sharing with our customers. So I'm gonna say that it's these efforts have been collectively by all of us.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're in this together. So
for
it's
you.
awesome. Yeah.
Yay. Yeah, I haven't met them, but yeah, y'all, I'm sure you're doing a great job.
Oh yeah, no, I'll send you the contact information because I actually have my vet uses real mushrooms. I interviewed her last week, Dr. Blankenship,
Oh yeah, sure.
and I know she talks about mushrooms in her practice. And in the upcoming weeks, I'm interviewing other holistic and integrative vets in my community in efforts to just come getting out of the coming out of the woods and make more presence about alternative ways of healing. And
Yes,
so yes,
for you. That's
it's time
great.
to make noise.
Yay.
Yeah. Um, well, do you mind if I show you like a product and you tell us like what would be this ideal for do you
Absolutely.
all
Yeah.
right. So let's start with Well, why don't we start with lion's mane? I know we briefly talked about,
Yeah.
great for cognitive decline. What other uses do you find would benefit as a
Yeah.
supplement?
Well, so a very interesting thing about lion's mane is that in the wild, like finding lion's mane in the wild is very, very rare. And so it wasn't until maybe in the past 10 years that they figured out how to cultivate lion's mane on a large scale. And it's become very quickly our most popular mushroom, like for real mushrooms on the human side. It's also getting very popular on the pets side. And it wasn't until 1993 that they discovered the cognitive, the way that lion's mane supports neurologic function, it supports cognitively, and it's related to nerve growth factor. Before that, traditionally, lion's mane was used for hundreds and hundreds of years to support digestion and gut health. So lion's mane was always considered something that's good for the stomach. If you have ulcers or IBD or any kind of like stomach cancer or anything like that, lion's mane would be the go-to mushroom. And now they've discovered all these wonderful benefits for your brain. And so it's one of the things I love about lion's mane is it's you've got gut health and brain support. And just I hate to be salesy, but I just love this point about lion's mane. That's 120 capsules that retails for $19.99. So if somebody's out there and wants to try lion's mane, they have maybe have a dog that's starting to show signs of some cognitive decline or whatever. $20, and that depending on the size of the dog, that could last, a couple months. So anyway, the lion's mane, it's also anti-inflammatory. It yeah, like I said, anti-neoplastic. All mushrooms are immune modulating. And a really nice benefit of lion's mane is it's the mildest tasting mushroom. So we have the lion's mane in capsules and also in powder. Let's say you have a cat and you want to try with mushrooms. Lion's mane is a great product for cats because of the mild taste. And it actually, some people say it's got almost like a mild taste like crab. I don't quite taste that, but hey, if people think it tastes like crab, great.
Yeah, palatability goes for
um,
the kids. Sure, that's
yeah,
great.
but that would be like if you're thinking like what kind of mushroom would I give to my cat, lion's mane would be a good choice, and it could be just a nice daily proactive as well. Yeah.
Mhm. And it could last probably longer if you're adding it part of the rotation.
Yeah, I use the powder. I put it in my coffee. So in the morning I do lion's mane. Right now I'm doing lion's mane, turkey tail, and chaga powder with some MCT oil and some honey, and I mix it up in my coffee in a blender. You can't even taste the mushrooms, and I get all my mushrooms in the morning.
Nice.
Yeah,
We skipped this one, but tell us about cordyceps.
yeah. So cordyceps is an excellent mushroom. It's actually an adaptogen, kind of like your favorite ashwagandha is also an adaptogen. So cordyceps is great for energy. It's also it can be used for, well, what's not so, most animals are spayed or neutered, but it's great for fertility, and it's an aphrodisiac. But what I love cordyceps for is it has an affinity for the lungs and the kidneys. So cordyceps is the second mushroom that I would say is good for cats. Um, it's the second mildest of the mushroom, next to lion's mane. Is probably the second mildest. It kind of has like a toast like taste. And so um, unfortunately, most cats, especially if they're fed kibble, develop kidney issues later in life. And so cordyceps is a great mushroom to have them on to support kidneys. I also like it for like working dogs. It's a great mushroom for working dogs to provide like a little energy. Lots of athletes use cordyceps to support their workouts. And for the convalescing dog, like an older dog, maybe just needs a little pep in their step or is recovering from like a surgery or something like that, cordyceps can help.
Then let's talk
Fun.
about the chews.
Are those the immune chews? So yeah, so we have two chews right now. We have the mushroom immune chews and the mushroom relax chews. And, Dr. Silver created these for those dogs that don't like to be pilled. You can't hide the powder, there's some dogs, I'm sure that just, they're just, no matter what, you're not going to get a capsule in them and you're not going to be able to hide anything in their food. And so we created these chews so you can give mushrooms as treats. And so the immune chews have our five defenders. So our five defenders is our most popular product. We have more vets use our five defenders than any of our other products. And five defenders is a blend of turkey tail, maitake, shiitake, reishi, and chaga. And so I consider the five defenders to be like a whole body support product. It's a great proactive daily product, anything from puppies all the way up to geriatric. And so the five defenders comes in that capsule, comes in a powder, and then we also put it in that chew. So that immune chew has the five defenders, but it also has, ashwagandha and blueberry powder and a number of other immune supporting ingredients. And then we added a little chicken liver to make it tasty. And it's very palatable. But so that would be, not everybody, goes back and forth. Some people don't like they'd rather have just the mushrooms without any of the binders holding the chew together. And I get that, but there's also the chooser for, some people call it a lifesaver. Like they can't get the supplements in their pet any other way. And they just, love using the chews, but just putting it out there that there's options. If you don't want the chicken liver, if you don't want if you don't like the idea of whatever we use as a binder that just has to hold everything together, then just get the powder or the capsule and you can avoid that.
Great. So then, so the difference between this one and this one, what would that be?
So the Relax Chews are, they have the lion's mane and the reishi mushroom in them. And I should have said lion's mane is also great for calming the mind. And reishi is a mushroom that has been used for thousands of years by Zen masters to support meditation practice. So Dr. Silver made the Relax Chews with the lion's mane and the reishi, and then he put valerian root. He even put a little catnip in there, passion flower, and other like calming herbs and foods to make so the mushroom relax would be actually we sold a ton of the Relax Chews for 4th of July because they're great for the fireworks. I gave it. I'm right in downtown. I'm right in a downtown part of a city, and the boom started, as soon as it was dusk and went, until past midnight. And my little dog Scruffy, I gave her a couple of the Relax Chews, and she slept through the whole thing. So,
I have
yeah.
to say, this one, I've tried it on Chica. There was a sample in Kim's bag.
Yeah.
So I gave it to her the night they came back, and it really chilled her, which I was surprised because well, I mean, I've tried CBD, but
Yeah.
like on the high end.
Yeah.
I've tried other products, I didn't see a difference, but I tried this one, I'm like, oh, okay, we're up to something here. If I don't want to give her CBD, if I don't have to force it in her gum line, I
Sure.
would prefer give her a chew that she actually likes and she'll eat it voluntarily.
Right.
So this one, I'm excited about this product to
Yeah.
have
And
something.
that's the thing about about products. Different products work for different pets. Like um, I love CBD. I give Scruffy CBD sometimes as well, and sometimes I take CBD and I put it on the chew, and I like soak the chew with a little bit of CBD, and I give that to her depending on the case. But what I'm told is that for the dogs that those calming chews work for, they work incredibly, and yeah. So I love that we have something that so many products, like you give it and you just kind of hope it's making a difference. Whatever's going on is happening internally. Uh, but that's what I love about something like the calming chews. You can actually see a difference. And also like the lion's mane. Uh, it's one of the few products that I've ever worked with. And I've been in this industry, for 20, 25 years. One of the few products where you can actually see a difference in the pet, you know, and not just like imagine, well, I think it's helping.
Right. Now, so I have the turkey tail. I know we talked quite a bit about it. Um, Anything else that we should add for those considering the turkey tail?
Um, I would just say that if you are dealing with an aggressive issue, that the dosage that's on the bottle is for it's kind of a starting point. We recommend when dealing with something more aggressive, double, tripling, or even quadrupling the amount of that you're giving, because going back to that study that I mentioned from 2012, it was the dogs that were on the highest doses that had the longest survival times. So of course, just like any new product you're giving, you don't want to start with a massive amount, whether you're changing their food or giving them a new supplement. You always want to start with a little bit and make sure that they don't react to it, because dogs aren't cookie cutter. Anything can cause anything. Mushrooms are safe, but you don't know that your pet doesn't have this random weird allergy. And if they have a sensitive stomach, you also don't want them to get diarrhea because you gave too much. So
Yeah, no, I
start
mean, I
small, work your way up.
totally agree with you. As we go through the supplements, we know that we have chews, we have powder, we have capsules, and we have tinctures.
Yes.
Um, my experience with Chica, I tried the tinctures. Unfortunately, gave her a horrible diarrhea. It doesn't mean
So
it's going to happen to every dog, but in my case, what my alternative is finding, in her case, the chew, because if it's the powder, she'll stop eating the food. How
yeah,
do I get the mushroom in her? So whatever it takes, if it's the chew version, then that's what she's getting.
yeah,
And she does the same thing with fish oil. She's very, she won't touch it. If it's a liquid, it has to be capsule.
yeah,
And there are many capsule omega-3
yeah,
brands
yeah.
out there. So yeah,
And
she's my little finicky girl.
yeah, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of the industry that we're in. So there's so many options. There's no best product out there for any one, there's options like do your homework, and also work with the dog in front of you, just because something worked for one person's dog doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for your dog. It doesn't mean that they're going to accept it. Doesn't mean they're going to respond in the same way. And that's okay because there's so many other options out there.
Absolutely. So yeah, so it's nice. It's nice to have different options there, and like
Yeah,
for what may work for one customer, one for one pet owner may not work for the other one. So this is
exactly.
great.
Yeah.
Last, I know this
Really
was launched, the Daily Dawn.
Yes, I love this product so much. It's funny, my little dog Scruffy, like I was living in Virginia, kind of in the middle of nowhere. We didn't really see people, but now that I'm in downtown and I take her out walking, everyone that pets her is like, "Oh my gosh, she's so soft. She's so soft." And I'm like, "It's the Daily Dog." Ever since I started giving her this product, her coat has just it's completely changed. And her name is Scruffy. She was normally a very kind of scruffy, like wiry coat, feeling, and her coat is like velvet. But what Daily Dog is, it's a blend of 7 mushrooms. So it's our 5 defenders, the turkey tail reishi, shiitake, maitake, and chaga. We also added the lion's mane and we added the cordyceps. So you've got 7 mushrooms in there. And because we did get well, we got feedback. We love getting feedback from our pet parents that are using our products. And some of the feedback that they gave us was while they love the chews, they would prefer, they would also like to get a powdered blend. And so this is the first of a number of different blends that we're going to be coming out with that are more condition based. So like you can buy one for allergies or, mobility or something like that. But this Daily Dog is supposed to be just a daily proactive. It's in a base of krill powder, Krill, which is like very so it's got a fishy smell and taste to it. Cats love it. I haven't had a single dog turn it down. It's got ashwagandha, it's got astragalus, it's got milk thistle, cracked cell chlorella, Saccharomyces boulardii. I call this Dr. Silver, Dr. Rob's masterpiece formula because he basically there's so many different ingredients in there that are very popular right now that people, for instance, the Saccharomyces boulardii is just such a great probiotic. And so it's kind of all in that powder, and it can be used as a food topper. You just sprinkle it on top of the food every day, whether like I'm a raw feeder. So I just mix it into the raw food. But if you feed kibble, you can put the powder on top and add either water or bone broth to kind of make a gravy. And the dogs love it. We are coming out, hopefully, in the next month or two, we'll be coming out with a feline version of this product. So very, very excited about this cat product, which will also be a daily product. And we did you saw it, at the event, at Kim's event at Natural Pet Essentials, we were doing some palatability testing. Well, it ended up 22 cats ate the powder and only 2 cats refused, which I think is pretty amazing with cats.
Ratio, yeah.
It's like I've never heard of 20 of like so many cats actually accepting a product because cats are, they're very finicky.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think you've answered my questions. Like I said, I'm super, super excited. Again, in the human world, I'm just got into this whole um,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
mushroom journey between my mist for my face, between my ashwagandha for my day-to-day balance. Now
Yeah.
finding out about the high content of glutathione. I've been trying this IV therapy.
Yeah.
I get the Myers cocktail and then I have my booster of glutathione. But now that I'm learning more,
Yeah.
definitely going to try this route. It's probably going to be more budget friendly than the IV therapy.
There you go. Yeah, the glutathione and then the ergothioneine, of course, which
Mhm.
is as good, if not better, than the glutathione. And yeah, you're gonna be in great shape. Well, you already are in great shape, but you're gonna
Regenerate the cells. Juice
be,
forever,
yeah, we're gonna be forever humans. There's
right?
the forever dog, and we're gonna be the forever humans.
Forever humans.
Yeah.
Joni, thank you so much for, again, your time today. Thank you for introducing us to real mushrooms. We're very excited to have the product in our shelves, and the confidence and the trust that we really have, quality supplements that we're able to bring to our community. I
Thank you,
look forward
Molly.
to seeing you soon, and if not, I'll see you at the live on Saturday.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And yeah, good luck with your event coming up. I can't wait to hear about it.
We'll be in touch before that.
Okie dokie.
Thank you, Joni.
Bye
Bye.
bye.